On the rest day yesterday night, the chef made pizza and tiramisu, like something, a bit of a treat, and the nutritionist was like, oh, enjoy it. I told him, I was like, to be honest, I'm just kind of craving a salad right now because my stomach and my body kind of almost needs a break from all those carbs we've been taking every day. So
welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro. You just heard from Guillaume Boivin. He's toughing it out right now during the final stages of the Tour de France. He's faced crashes, heat, mountain climbs, and a lack of vegetables. You'll find out what's going on with the rider's diet later in this episode. I wanted to speak with Boivin not only about the Tour de France, but also about the Olympics. Near the beginning of July, he was named as the third rider, after Michael Woods and Hugo Hull, who will be at the road race in Tokyo. While still in the midst of his first tour, Boivin looks ahead to his next big objective. In a way, the two events are similar. Boivin's role is to help Woods cross the finish line first. Boivin has been with the team Israel Startup Nation in its various forms since 2016. Before that, he did a season with U.S. team Optum presented by Kelly Benefit Strategies. There was also 2 years on the Cannondale World Tour team with riders such as Peter Sagan, Matej Mohoric, and Elia Viviani. Going way back, Boivin was on the influential Canadian pro-continental team, SpiderTech. In 2010, he famously tied for third place with Taylor Phinney at the Under-23 World Championship road race. While Boivin loves to mix it up in a bunch sprint, throughout the past few years, he's developed into a skilled support rider with a range of abilities. Take the current Tour de France, for example. Boivin's first job has been to help a climber like Michael Woods with his goals of stage wins and the KOM jersey. Yet, Boivin can also help out a fast man like André Greipel. The Tour de France is stressful for riders. I thought Boivin might be dealing with an added stress at the beginning of the Tour. He's a big hockey fan, and his team is the Montreal Canadiens. The Tour started just as the Stanley Cup finals got underway. With the time difference between France and North America, was Boivin losing precious sleep over his struggling Habs? That's where our conversation begins. Guillaume Boivin, we are speaking on the second rest day of the Tour de France. You had a hard day of climbing on the previous stage to Andorra, but I want to go back to the first week. Your teammates Michael Woods and Chris Froome suffered crashes. You were caught up in that famous crash with the woman holding the sign for her grandparents. And yet, during that week, the Montreal Canadiens were having a really rough go in the Stanley Cup finals. Which was more stressful for you at the time, following hockey or riding the Tour?
yeah, I don't know. I think maybe at the beginning of the Tour they were still in the conference final. I'm not sure, but it wasn't as good in the Stanley Cup finals. So only one morning I could wake up with a big smile on my face for breakfast and just tell the guys, even if probably none of them cared, that the Habs won. But it was. I say they had a good run. Probably ran out of gas and faced the best team in the league. So, but yeah, no, it's been fun following it from far because I'm really a big fan.
Yeah, I was aware that you're a big fan. But how are you following it? Would you wake up in the middle of the night when maybe you should have been resting to check the score?
No, I'm still a bigger fan of performing well in the Tour. So there was no midnight wake-ups, but usually the first thing I do in the morning or every morning is check the highlights on YouTube from all around the NHL. Is kind of like my morning routine when I have breakfast at home, and then here not as much time, but looking at the Habs games for sure.
And then I guess after July 7th, you were a bit, there wasn't unfortunately the distraction of the Habs.
Yeah, well, I thought then maybe we have more space in the medias now with the Tour, not that hockey's over.
You've started 2 tours of Spain and finished 1. You finished 2 tours of Italy. You are now in the midst of your first Tour de France. How does this Grand Tour compare with the others?
The biggest difference is the stress. There's just so much at stake, so much pressure on every team. It's the biggest race in the world, and yeah, there's just so much stress to be at the front, and that's kind of what we've seen. It's causing a lot of crashes. I'd say that's been the biggest difference. Obviously, you hear the guys talk, they say they've never really even seen a tour like that, so aggressive. In the first week, we were racing like it was the third week already, taking an hour, 2 hours, sometimes even more for the break to go, which is something you don't see in other races. It's winning the tour makes a career. So and the sponsors put so much money, and we all put so much effort with the teams to be here that it's a massive battle every day. Plus the stress makes it. To be honest, it's almost hard to enjoy while you're in it, because it's so stressful and dangerous that you're kind of drained mentally at the end of the day more than physically.
Did you feel prepared for that stress beforehand? I'm sure you were warned about it, but was there any way to get ready for that level of intensity?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like if you race like Tour of Flanders or something like that. The only difference is here is day in day out and consecutive days. So it's like it's just we've all experienced that kind of stress, but just over days. Like now, it's starting to be coming into the third week a little less stressful because GC is settled. There's also, I'm not gonna lie, like quite a few less bodies in the peloton and less people that want or need to be at the front. So yeah, it's a little less stressful, but then we hit the mountain, so it's a different kind of stress we're trying to deal with.
Right. Like I'm sure you and the rest of your team will be trying to tee up Michael Woods for some more goes at either the polka dot jersey or a stage win.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's pretty cool now that a lot of the stages are broadcasted from start to finish. So you can see what really happens in the start. Because anyway, when I was watching as a little kid, it kind of turned on the TV and the break was gone. It was like, oh, these guys just got in the break. Was pretty, probably they just let them go. And then, yeah, that's not really the reality. Most days, it's, well, I would say it's kind of like the hardest part of the race. The break, the day that Malema won when Mike took polka dot was like 90K of full gas racing for the whole start for that break to go. So it's hard racing, but we're all in it, so we all want the same thing. So that's why it's hard.
And when it takes 90 kilometers for the break to settle, how does that affect you? Are you chasing down moves to make sure, either things are the way your team wants them?
It depends of the day. Example, on that day, I was having a bit of a rough day, but still try to do my best. And the goal was to have Dan Martin and Mike Woods in the break because it was pretty hilly. So there's no point of having like me, for example, or Andre Greipel in the break because that's not gonna play well in the final of the race. So make sure he's at the front, try to bring him there. And if there's a break that goes up the road without any of those, we just need to close the gap and so that the battle starts again, and sometimes that's not so easy to close the gap, but you just got to do it.
As I mentioned earlier, there were a lot of crashes on that first stage. That evening, how did the team evaluate that? Did you guys make big changes to your tour plans that evening?
Yeah, I mean, Mike was targeting to see where he could end up on GC. So that was out the window pretty quick. So yeah, we had to change a bit the strategies, go focus solely on stages and the polka dot. So it's the way you race some finals is a bit different. You don't need to be at the front to avoid everything. You can afford in a way to lose time in the finals of sprint days or whatnot. So yeah, we had to change. First, we had to recover because everybody except one guy went down on the team that day, so we were pretty banged up. But you just have no choice than to make new objectives and go for those. Like it's just cycling sometimes doesn't go your way, but there was still at that point 20 stages to go for.
So as you mentioned earlier, the race has maybe settled down a bit. There's not as many people jockeying for the GC position. And how have things other than that changed for you, maybe just either mentally or physically as the race progressed?
Yeah, it's been really warm the last week. We had the pretty cold and rainy first 10 days. So the heat's been something that physically I've struggled to deal with. You make one mistake on one day, and then you're going to pay the price big time the day after, which happened to me on the last stage. Cavendish won. I can't remember. So I'm that tired. I can't remember the days, but there was a crash in the downhill gravel. And then I was down at the Carrefour bottles at that point, so it was a split, and I had to chase full gas for 15K, no cars, and then rode the whole final in the front for the guys, and I was just so focused on doing my job, and there's crosswind, so like it's really stressful. I didn't drink so much for the last 50, 60K, at least not enough. And 35 degrees, like the next day, I was just, it was a battle. I was just in a really bad state and really paid the price for not hydrating well. So it's just kind of trying to manage day to day as it comes. And there's always some challenges, whether it's weather, mountain, hot, cold. But physically, I'm doing okay. Other than that one day, it's been pretty okay. Everything under control.
That makes me think, like, a lot of listeners and readers of the magazine often wonder how much you guys eat on a day. What's your calorie intake like, or do you watch it that closely?
Yeah, we try to. Sometimes it's you got a plan, but it's not always easy to follow it because sometimes you just don't have bottles anymore, and it's going too fast to go back to the car or stuff like that. So on the hard days, which is almost every day here, trying to get around 120 grams of carbs per hour in the body, which is quite a bit. I mean, I'm also a big guy, and I've been trained to absorb that many carbs. So that's kind of like the goal on big days. And yeah, with the team nutritionist, like every meal is planned, to the gram of carbs and protein and fat that we eat. And we report back to the team nutritionist after the stage. And if there's some deficit because we didn't eat enough, or if this stage was easier, then we can adjust for dinner in terms of nutrition to take in.
Are you getting sick of any foods?
Oh yeah, it's been because also a lot of the mountains days will do like low res diet, so cut out like all the veggies, all the fibers, so it gets pretty boring. Yeah, it's just so much carbs. We spend so much, expend so much calories during a day that like on the rest day yesterday night, the chef made pizza and tiramisu, like something a bit of a treat, and the nutritionist was like, "Oh, enjoy it." I told him, I was like, to be honest, I'm just kind of craving a salad right now because my stomach and my body kind of almost needs a break from all those carbs we've been taking every day. So yeah, you do get tired of white rice and chicken and stuff, but yeah, it's just more, you got to do it for performance.
Now, as you mentioned, it may even be a bit difficult right now to enjoy yourself in this race that is so important and so difficult and so stressful. But can you think of a highlight so far in the first 2 weeks of the Tour de France?
Highlights, and whenever Mike's up the road, we know with the legs he has, it's pretty exciting. Like I'm trying to hear over the radios how he's doing, but it's been fun to be in the sprints with Andre Greipel. We've tried a few good lead outs. He's got good legs, so that's been fun. Not what I was originally brought here for. Was more to take care of Mike in terms of of a GC ambitions. But it's kind of like my first love to go back to battle in the lead outs. So it's been fun. And yeah, the other day I rode on the Ventoux day with Chris Froome. We rode pretty much the second time up, just him and I. Just kind of took it easy, and we were the two of us, and it's pretty special to ride up such a iconic climb with this guy. Like the amount of cheer and love he gets from the public, and it's a long climb up, but it was filled with cheers for Chris, and I thought that was pretty special.
How have you spent your rest day?
I do nothing. This is, it's kind of typical. Like it's the shortest day of the year, but you wake up, you chill in bed a bit, have breakfast, and it's nice because we have time for around the meals to chat a bit more with the guys. I mean, we got a great team atmosphere here, and it's fun to just chat because some nights we only get to dinner at 9:30 at night, so you kind of want to eat and go to bed. But yeah, little easy ride, super easy ride. I think we rode 30 kilometers today. Then lunch again, chat a bit, big nap.
And what are you looking forward to in the final week of the tour?
I'd love if I could get in a break with Mike to try to give him a hand. That'd be something I'd be real proud of. I'm sure I'll be asked to try to be in the break, or at least make sure Mike is in the break and Dan Martin are in the break. And just kind of take the opportunities. There's a long 220K stage on Friday, I think, kind of flat, but it's not sure if anyone wants to control the 220K at the end of the tour. So just take our opportunities. There's still a week. We got a full team. Everybody's healthy. So, just try to slip in the breakaways and try to work some magic, I guess.
I want to talk about your next big event for the summer, the Tokyo Olympics. On July 6th, Cycling Canada announced that you'd be the third rider on the men's road squad. Your teammates will be Michael Woods, who is aiming for a medal, and Hugo Uhl. We've known that Woods and Uhl were going to go to Tokyo since June 2020, but Cycling Canada waited until this year to fill the third spot. When were you first brought into the discussion regarding the Olympics?
Oh, I think from the get-go, really. It's not like we've got like 100 pro riders in Canada that can compete at this level, So I think from the get-go, I was in the pool for the Olympics, and it was just a matter of who shows that he deserves to go the most, and the role too that they're looking for that third rider, So and I think for me, it made sense to. I think the first two were pretty clear with the performances they had last year. But then with the delay of the Tokyo Olympics, I think it made sense to wait and just see as close as possible to the games who's in the best shape and who would be the best fit for that spot. So yeah, it's been kind of stressful and long wait, but at the same time, it's very rewarding to be able to go help a friend of mine and a guy who has a legit shot at a medal, and if not winning the bike race in Tokyo. It's very motivating. And then with the Tour de France in my legs, I think it's by far the best preparation for the games.
Have you looked at the Tokyo road race course in much detail?
Yeah, I've looked at it. It's very, very hard. It's kind of like a big mountain tour, to be honest. And it's going to be raced maybe a bit differently because it's a one-day race and smaller teams. It's a very demanding course with the heat too. I guess we're getting good heat adaptation here. I think it's perfect for Mike. Maybe we could have wished that the finish was on the top, but nonetheless, it's a race that suits him very well. And we'll do our best to support him in that race with Hugo and I.
Can you compare that course with maybe any other races that listeners might be familiar with?
Yeah, in terms of one-day race, there's not that many that are similar to that because there's some longer climbs. It's more like a mountain, a big mountain that you see in the Grand Tours. To be honest, more than any one-day race on the calendar. Yeah, so it's hard to compare. Like I guess it's kind of similar to the stage we had to Andorra yesterday, with some kind of big long climbs in the beginning, not too steep but long. And then a really steep climb in the final. So in some ways, it's a bit similar to the stage we had to Andorra yesterday.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. In terms of like the length of the climbs, I mean, the elevation is a bit more in Tokyo. I think about 600 meters more. But it's also, Tokyo is going to be longer. I think 234.
Yeah, 234 and. Is it 4,800 meters maybe in Tokyo?
Yeah.
And yesterday was 43 or something like that. So that's it's pretty similar. And just the last climb is longer than what we had yesterday and steeper. But it's kind of similar.
Yeah, I was trying to compare it to the Montreal Grand Prix, but I feel like the elevation is similar in those two races. But Montreal, the climbs are much shorter.
Yeah, I don't think you can compare it at all. It's really different efforts in terms of I wouldn't say you can't compare it at all, because at the end of the day you still have to get out that elevation in, but that last climb in Tokyo is really a hard one.
Yeah, there's the climb. I believe it's the second last peak, but it's like the last major climb, Mikuni Pass. It comes later in the race, and it's about 6.5 kilometers, a gradient of 10% with 20% grades actually mixed in. But before that is the climb to up and around Mount Fuji. Do you think you would still be able to be with Woods up until that final climb, like even with Mount Fuji thrown in the middle?
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, I've been climbing much better this year. And when I need to, because, like when you look at a race like the Tour de France is, sometimes you're where you're supposed to be, but sometimes you can maybe, like if you're not going to be in the final, you want to save your legs for other days. And like in Tour de Suisse, I was climbing really well. And I think after coming here, that's for sure the goal and the hope that I'll be there until the last climb. That'd be the ideal scenario for us.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. Like, even though yesterday's Tour de France stage might be in a way similar to Tokyo, the sort of the before and after of the Tour de France is completely different than the one-day race.
Yeah, and also it's the race is already 15 minutes up the road with the breakaway or whatever. I'm in the mindset where like there's a big week, there's big opportunities. So basically, you kind of just have to make time cut at some point.
Right. How do you feel about having two firsts this season? Your first Tour and your first Olympics?
It's dreams come true. It's stuff that I've been dreaming of since I was a kid, and it's just a nice reward after all those years of hard work. And yeah, just especially the last year, I've been really focused, and it's really nice to achieve those goals. At the same time, it's just another bike race. That's anyway how I try to see it. It's mainly the same guys we race all year long, and I try not to make it too big. It's a bike race. We put a number on, and it's pretty similar. I'm here. I'm not just happy to be at the Tour or to go to the games, but I want to do a good work to help the team, help Mike at the games, and be key factor in the team performances there.
Finally, you've had your moments and your victories. I'm thinking you were the national road champion in 2009 and in 2015. Will you try to win a third Maple Leaf jersey this September?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for me where the nationals are placed this year with Worlds. That is suited to guys like me. I'm not sure I'm going to be at the start of nationals. We still have to talk with the team, but might be doing like Ping Bang Tour or Tour of Britain to prepare for Worlds in Roubaix, which with Seb Van Mark is a big objective for us. We had a good Tour of Flanders, and we're going to have to sit down with the team if it's worth doing that travel or not. So yeah, I'd love to be there. It's a really nice feeling to ride in the peloton with a maple leaf on your jersey. But I'm not sure I'm going to be there this year.
It sounds like you still have a busy year ahead of you after the Olympics.
A career doesn't last forever, and I mean this is the best I've ever ridden all year. Like I've been really consistent, and the rider the team's been able to rely on for different type of races, and I'm just enjoying it, so I just want to make the most of it because pretty quick it's going to be over, and then I just want to make the most of it. Whenever they call me to go to a race, I'm up for it if the legs are good, and so far this year the legs have been good.
Well, Guillaume, thank you for your time. Good luck with the rest of the tour, with the Olympics, and everything else that lies ahead in this season.
Okay, man. Thanks.
And that's the episode. It's written and edited by me, Matthew Pioro. I had help from web editors Terry McCall and Lily Hanson-Gillis. Check out Lily's story on our site about Boivin and why he may be the most Canadian rider in the pro peloton. Also, I recommend you listen back to the September 10th, 2020 episode of this pod for Boivin's tale of catching a Montreal Canadiens game with Peter Sagan. The Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is produced by Adam Killick. He composed the music too. Thanks to Ontario Creates for its support. And thank you for listening. Please rate and review the show. Ride safely, and I'll talk to you later.